In today's episode of Locked On Pistons podcast, we'll break down the Detroit Pistons Game 5 win and what they need to do to win Game 6 and force a Game 7. All on today's episode, Locked On Pistons podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more about this today. Later on, we'll be talking about what the Pistons have to do in Game 6 to force a Game 7 and possibly win this series in Madison Square Garden. Also, you guys know, go to the descriptions down below. Get all the links. SUBSTACK, I just put out another full breakdown for Game 5. You'll have another one after Game 6 and written analysis. And if you want to join the playback room and have these live watch parties of Piston games and future playoff games for the rest of the playoffs, go ahead and join the link down below as well. But I am joined by friend of the podcast, Matt Griffin. You can find him over on Twitter at Griff1on1. We're going to go ahead and break down this Game 5 victory by the Detroit Pistons. We went pretty crazy in the last episode. I went live after the last win, and it was a fun time. I went pretty crazy. You know, it was worthy of it. But now I want to kind of get more in depth with what happened in Game 5. But first off, I brought Matt back on for one reason, for one big reason. Matt, go ahead and take a victory lap just real quickly. We're not going to spend too long, but just take a victory lap real quick.
I mean, you're lapping with me, Ku. Yeah, Ausar Thompson, the breakout game, the game that we've been waiting for. We finally, we pressed the Killian Hayes button, and it worked, man. We did not let Jalen Brunson tuck us into bed. Ausar Thompson stayed on the floor. The offense did a good job of making sure that Ausar Thompson could stay on the floor, keeping him involved. Jalen Duren in particular, I think, played a big role in that. But no, he was fantastic. And I'm just glad. I think now I feel good about the series going forward, especially because I feel like we've broken down this wall, right? Like it feels like, okay, Ausar Thompson is in the rotation. Like it's very clear how important he is and how important he can be when utilized correctly. And I like after watching that, I don't know how you would take him out.
Yeah, I think we're past that too. So hopefully we see even more Ausar in Game 6 and he continues to play well. But there were other players that played well. There were other reasons why the Pistons won Game 5. So obviously I just spent the last episode going crazy over Game 5. So I'll let you start off. Pistons, when obviously backs against the wall, have to win this game or they're going home. They close it out in the fourth quarter. They force a Game 6 at Little Caesars Arena. Matt, what do you think were some of the key reasons why they were able to win Game 5?
I think key number one has to be on the defensive end. What Ausar's work on Jalen Brunson is probably key number one. But I think if we're looking at the offensive perspective, as far as what worked and what changed, I feel like life has been breathed into the pick and roll game, man. Like it feels like we finally kind of unlocked Duren as a short roller against Cat's high coverage. New York, felt a little bit less comfortable deploying that in the second half of last game, started leaning on their drop a little bit more, leaning on Mitchell Robinson a little bit more. And Duren was great, man. He was making fantastic reads. He's great passes. Obviously, Ausar as a cutter was unlocked quite a bit through that. And I think now that, again, kind of similar to the Ausar thing, just now that it feels like we finally found a little bit of a rhythm offensively. Obviously, it still wasn't a good offensive game. The shooters got to shoot better. Everybody's got to shoot better, but especially the three best shooters. We just kind of did enough, right? We did enough through three quarters. When Cade was playing like garbage, frankly, through three quarters, the defense did enough. Tobias was doing enough, just to hold on, and we got to the fourth quarter, and our guy closed it out.
Yeah, I think one of the keys, obviously we talked about Ausar a ton last episode. I'm not going to spend time talking about him here. I thought Tobias was a huge key to this victory for the Pistons, man. I think what Tobias has been for the Detroit Pistons is honestly I never thought I would be getting to the playoffs and saying that Tobias Harris on defense has been like 10 times more valuable than him on offense. But like, I truly feel like he's been that much better, or maybe not better, but just more important to their defense than he is to their offense. Obviously, he chipped in 17 points. They need that from him too. But what he's been able to do on Karl-Anthony Towns has been remarkable. And he's had, it's not like they're just leaving him on an island and they're not sending any help. Obviously, this is enabling them to run Jalen Duren as a roamer off of Josh Hart. But without Tobias, you're not able to do that. When Tobias Harris is in foul trouble, you're not allowed to do that. You're not capable of doing it. And Tobias in this game, after getting in foul trouble last game, got out of foul trouble this game, and I thought played maybe his best game of the series. I know he had a good offensive game in game one. I thought this game was, he had his fingerprints were all over the offensive end of the floor and the defensive end of the floor. Tobias had 4 blocks in this game. 6 stocks himself. Tobias Harris, guys. Tobias Harris had 6 stocks in this game. I thought he was absolutely exceptional. I'm seeing Tobias talk more than I've ever seen him talk. He's talking trash to fans. He's talking trash to Cat. He's getting animated. I feel like he really believes the Pistons can win this series, and he's completely bought in. He is completely bought into, I have to shut down Cat. I have to be on the floor. This is my responsibility. I have to do this. And I thought he was absolutely exceptional in this last game. And I just wanted to give him a good section of the podcast, because they would not have a chance in this series without Tobias. Like, they would just be cooked. There's a reason why when he got in foul last game, it was just like, God, man, it was just terrible. He's been exceptional for him.
Yeah, to your point, like the work he's done on Cat, like you said, nobody else on the roster could really probably fulfill that role. I guess I hold out maybe like a touch of hope for Cade being able to fight with Cat like that. But even then, I mean, it's just kind of a little bit of a grown man strength thing, right? Like, Tobias has done an excellent job of pushing Cat out so that he's not catching the ball low. I think even when Cat has gotten him in the post and Cat has done damage, like, Cat's working for it, right? Like, that is not, we were on the playback and I was screaming. I was like, make him do that every time, because nobody can do what Cat was doing in order to score on Tobias Harris in the post every time. Nobody's built for that. Nobody, is physically really capable of doing that over and over again and maintaining the offensive load that Cat is asked to. So I just think, man, Tobias is making Karl-Anthony Towns work. Karl-Anthony Towns doing like a decent job, I guess, in some of those isolation situations, but like, that's okay. That's going to happen. Cat's going to make some shots. Cat's going to get his buckets here and there. But if you can hold them the way that Tobias was able to hold him yesterday and fight with him and be as physical as he could, like, you also talked about the turnover creation. Like, I think his hands have been excellent in this series, just overall on the defensive end. Even, in situations where Duren is at the 5 or Cat is, or he's not matched up on Cat, like, Tobias has been good as a tagger, right? Like, Tobias has squeezed down on Mitchell Robinson a couple times and made an impact there. Like, he's been unbelievable, way better than I could have expected when we signed him, even if his box score isn't, his box scores have been very good throughout the playoffs too, but just overall on the season, like, Tobias has done all of the little things better than I ever expected Tobias Harris to do.
Yeah, and one of the other things I think he's done defensively, and I was screaming about this in the fourth quarter to Jalen Duren, but I think Tobias, not only is he pushing Cat out, not only is he being physical, he's completely eliminating the catch and shoot opportunities for Cat. He is right there. As soon as Cat catches the ball, he's already there. He's already there in his grill. Cat
his heels are on the 3-point line.
Yes.
When he picks Cat up.
Correct. When Cat hit like a 33-foot 3 or something, like deep as hell in the fourth quarter. It's a deep 3. It definitely is a limitless range 3, but I was losing it because I'm like, Duren, you can't, I know he's deep out there, but that's Cat. You cannot be that far off of him off the catch. You have to be there on catch. And Tobias, I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job of completely eliminating Cat's 3-point volume. He only got 4 threes up in this game. 2 of those were with Duren guarding him. I truly feel like when Tobias has been able to be on the floor, I don't remember Cat getting any, I can't remember Cat getting any threes up.
I was going to say, I don't think that Cat has made a trail 3 with Tobias on the floor in this series. And I mean, for all the talk about what Cat is as a shooter and the pick and pop game, which obviously is deadly in and of itself, like, a ton of Cat's damage is done just as a trailer, right? And I feel like the Tobias matchup has largely eliminated that from Cat's bag. So yeah, you can't say enough about the job that he's done, just playing his role and fulfilling his role and guarding an all NBA player who he gives up, 4 inches and 30, 40 pounds to.
Yeah, and when we come back, we'll hit on some other things that happened in Game 5, and then we'll look forward to Game 6, which is Thursday night, and talk about what the Pistons have to do in this Game 6 to extend this series to a Game 7 and have a chance to come back down 3-1 and defeat the New York Knicks. We'll talk about that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair controller and subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. What if you could jump into your favorite Xbox titles without needing your console in every room? Well, Fire TV Stick 4K has you right here. Do you ever find yourself flipping between apps to find one place that just works? With Fire TV Stick 4K, everything's in one place, from Netflix to YouTube and beyond. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Again, head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Today, Fire TV is also an Xbox. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, Matt, is there anything else? Or actually, real quickly, make sure you guys hit the description down below for the link. SUBSTACK, playback room, all that good stuff. And appreciate you guys making Locked On Pistons, again, your first listen of every single day. All right, Matt, is there anything else? Now we can get into it. Anything else from Game 5 that really stood out to you that you wanted to talk about before we move on to Game 6, Game 7?
Yeah, and I mean, this kind of directs us into Game 6, Game 7 a little bit. There was something that the Pistons went to in the second half a couple times that I think is really interesting and needs to be circled. They because Brunson, a lot of times when Brunson's involved in the action, not a lot of times, basically every time, he just hard hedges, right? And then will recover back to whatever guy. So we've seen shooters be able, like a lot of times it's Hardaway, be able to screen for Cade. And then because Brunson is jumping out at Cade, Hardaway has been able to slip by for like a decent look from three. A lot of times Brunson is able to recover, but you can see a window of, there's an opportunity to create an advantage there at the very least, if not an open shot, right? But yesterday, a couple of times, they had Hardaway set the screen flat, right? So Hardaway's back is basically directly parallel to the hoop. Brunson can't really hedge that, right? So Cade's going to come off that screen already downhill. Brunson really can't hedge that unless he jumps out really early, in which case it should be an easy slip for Hardaway to get downhill. That forces a switch. And I mean, if there's a button that you can press where, okay, if this is the coverage that Brunson's going to run, or they have Brunson in, and we can pivot that to make it him basically have to switch, be forced to switch, and then they have to scram out of it at the very least. Like, I would be pressing that button 4 or 5 times probably in the first half of next game after seeing the way that New York has defended it up to this point. So I think that, like, that's one thing, like, I guess schematically a little bit that has stuck with me. The other thing, I mean, just the, like, continuing to, again, if we can get Cat out of that high coverage, or at least pay Cat for running that high coverage, if that is something that's going to make Ausar more impactful, more useful, and Duren can continue making the reads that he has thus far, maybe next game they try to force Duren to be a little bit, not more of a decision maker because he was already a decision maker, but at least make him think about scoring himself. We didn't see a ton of that, right? Like Duren had all the assists, wasn't necessarily a big scoring game. Maybe they try to, switch up on him in that way. But I think, I don't know. I was happy with the offensive process. I didn't love all of the, obviously you want the shooters to make shots. That's kind of one of the stories of the Pistons offense. And a ton of this game was played in the mud, right? Like it was a low scoring game, a defensive game. Neither team could make free throws even. But I liked a lot of the results that it felt like we were getting and a lot of the shots that we were getting.
Yeah, I completely agree with the Cade point about the flatter screens. We saw that especially in the fourth quarter. I thought Cade was getting to the paint and was a constant paint touch over and over and over again, especially late in that game. Something else that I really liked seeing from the Pistons in this game, something that you brought up on the podcast last episode and you pointed out during the playback watch live party. Um, Cade was trying to take advantage of those little hedge gaps. He was trying to get
Yeah,
those threes off.
he hit the pull-up three in the fourth quarter off of
Yeah,
it.
in the fourth quarter, hedge gap to explain it to everybody. Obviously, like Matt was just saying, when every time they get Jalen Brunson involved in the screen, he's hedging the screen, showing, and then trying to get back. There's a brief second in between that when Brunson's trying to get back. There is a very sliver of space that the great shooters can get a quick look off. Now, Cade only got 4 threes up, but I believe actually 3 of them were him trying to get those shots up. 2 of them were in this first half. But then late in this game, when he scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, it really started to put them up by 5. To put them up by 5, he hit a hedge gap 3 with OG Anunoby getting a pretty solid, I would say, late contest on him. So I really like seeing that. I wonder if it's something that Cade feels more confident in and he starts going even more to up that 3-point volume that Matt was kind of talking about in the last episode. But yeah, I thought that was great. And then also to just kind of buffer your point about the Knicks coverage. Again, check out the film breakdown I just did on my Substack. I just put it out literally like an hour ago for Game 5. Went deep into how the Pistons were able to win these reps in the half court against the Knicks. But all of this is just like I said it in the breakdown. Basketball really is at this purest form a very simple and beautiful game. It's a very simple and beautiful game. It all stems from the Knicks decision. Everything is just a ripple effect of the Knicks deciding to trap Cade in the screens. Everything after that is just a large ripple effect. The Pistons, you want trap Cade? Okay, we'll deal with 4-on-3s. Duren will, in this game, they did a great job, I think, of putting Ausar in the weak side and kind of taking advantage of that. We'll counter with that. Then the Knicks, as I broke down in one of the clips, OG Anunoby came down. Okay, we're done with Ausar getting these dump offs. Now I'm coming down. I'm taking away the dump off. Then the next counter to that is Duren holding Jalen Brunson in a 2-on-1 situation on the weak side, and then he finds THJ on the corner on a wing 3. Like those are all counters upon counters upon counters, live reactions, reaction to a reaction to a reaction. That all is just a ripple effect of the Knicks choosing, we're going to trap Cade because we're scared of him beating us. So if, as you mentioned, they did start to get out of it a little bit towards the end of the game, and then Cade obviously went off for 13 points in the fourth. So it's really like a pick your poison with the process. You mentioned it. I'm a big process over results guy. I'm sure you are as well. It's something I talk about a lot on the podcast, obviously. Process over results. The Pistons half-court offense process in this game was amazing. And it's if you want to trap, we'll do this to try to get you out of that trap. If you then want to go to the drop, then Cade will just murder you in the drop coverage, a bunch of middies, a bunch of floaters, and get to the basket, and you'll have to pick your poison. So as long as the Pistons can continue to force the Knicks to have to deal with that puzzle, I think they're in a really good spot. As long, and I think we'll talk about this in Game 7, or in not Game 7, in segment 3, as long as the shooters can start making some shots at some point. But I like where the Pistons are positioned right now.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. Like the Pistons process was really good. I mean, the Pistons process was really good, but at the same time, like if you just look at the stat sheet, it's like, well, the offense wasn't particularly efficient. I mean, a big part of that obviously is just 3-point shooting, right? I would also say, like, outside of Cat, it was Cat's worst defensive game, I think. But like OG was unreal, right? Like, how many possessions did he alone basically eliminate points from the Pistons? I mean, you're probably talking upwards of 10, honestly. So to the point about like them, like maybe not so successfully trapping Cade, a piece of that is that we're actually landing a screen every now and again on OG Anunoby, which it didn't feel like we were doing games 1 through 3. So, you know, you stress Cat out in a different way when you're able to do that, and OG isn't just kind of snaking by everything.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so I want to get to now, like you mentioned, the half-court offense, despite the process being great, I feel like they only scored 106 points. They shot 42% from the field. This leads us to my number one key for Game 6 to force a Game 7. We'll talk about that coming up. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Check out the descriptions down below for the Substack, for the Playback Room, all that good stuff. You guys know what it is. Check it all out. Got that film breakdown published today over the Pistons half-court offense in Game 5 and how Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson really answered all of the Knicks' questions or puzzles that they threw at them in this past game. All right, so Game 6 is coming up at LCA. We have to win to force a Game 7. The Pistons have to win to force a Game 7 here, or the season's over. Matt, what are some of your keys? What is your main keys to forcing a Game 7? What do you think the Pistons have to do in order to win this game?
That's a good question. I would say number one, I think the Ausar point is the one, right? Like, you have to be able to have like a functional offense with Ausar on the floor, because I think Ausar being on the floor is non-negotiable, which we spent all of our last podcast talking about. But if you're zooming in a little bit, I think it's a big, the turnovers are important, man. Like, the Knicks are really struggling when they have to work for points. When they've gotten out in transition, when they've created a turnover, that's when I feel like, obviously that's been their easiest offense. And so, like, if they can bank on 16 of those, it's an uphill battle that the Pistons are fighting. Now, last game, Cade, 5 turnovers is still, you could definitely say too many. But you look at the 2 games that the Pistons won, if I'm not mistaken, Cade had a lot of turnovers in the Game 3 that the Pistons won, or Game 2 rather. But they were like all in the first quarter, if I remember correctly, right? Like, they were all, he had like 1 turnover after the first quarter. In this game, he had 5 turnovers, but that's less than the 7 that he would have had the game before, right? So, like, limiting turnovers is, as much as the turnovers themselves are important, because they really are. Again, you want to make the Knicks have to work. They don't want to be in the half court. That's when we've had a ton of success defensively. Like, their offense has not been able to find a rhythm. It's just a general sign that the ball is kind of pinging around and decision-making is at a high level, and you're not operating in the mud, and the space isn't so constricted as it was earlier in the games. Like, I don't know. I feel really confident, I will say, about Game 6. Obviously, being at home helps. Well, I guess it hasn't up to this point in the series, but being at home generally helps. And the offense, again, like, it didn't produce at a high level. I think it's the best that it's looked in this series by a lot. And I don't want to say it like they've straight up figured out the Knicks, but it feels like that is sort of coming along. And I just watching last game, the Knicks were struggling a bit more than the Pistons were. They just, take away the 12 points of just completely off the wall threes that the Knicks hit, right?
Like, every game, at least 12 every game they give this BS.
Yeah, I feel good. Like, at some point, that's got to kind of go our way. Can we get some BS threes? I feel like we even had one. I don't like. It doesn't feel like it.
So my key number 1, I have a few, but my key number 1. Are you ready? I don't know if you know this number yet, Matt. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is an insane number.
Can I guess?
Yes.
What you're about to say? Is it about to be like a Mitch Robinson offensive rebounding thing? Like, when he's on the floor, they rebound 40% of their misses? All right.
It's not, but he is. We did talk about that
problem.
last episode.
He's a problem.
He had 8 of them last game. He was dominating.
I think he had 7 in his first 8 minutes on the floor. Or something like that.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Or 5 in 6 minutes.
Yeah. The Pistons starting lineup of Cade, Ausar, THJ, Tobias, and Duren. I want you to take a guess at what you think their net rating is.
They were like a plus 22 last game. I'm pretty sure. I know that. And they were already like a plus 20. Is it like plus 30?
How, bro? Okay. It is 30. They are a plus 30.5 in this series. They are. I want you guys to hear me again. The Pistons starting 5 are blowing the brakes off of the New York Knicks. When that starting 5 is in the game, they are obliterating the Knicks. 30 point. They have an offensive rating of 118.8 and a defensive rating of 88.3. They are obliterating the Knicks starting lineup. So for me, my first key to winning Game 6 is pretty simple. Just play that starting lineup a ton.
Yeah.
like Like just play it a ton. I'm going to it like for a large stretches. I'm closing with that lineup.
You're going full JJ Redick, play him 24 minutes in the second half.
Nah, not that bad. Not that bad. We won't go that bad.
Okay, so well then let me flip this on you, then, Ku.
Let me just
So
say
if
that.
this-
Let me say the Knicks starting
Okay, yeah,
lineup
go
net
ahead,
rating
go
just
ahead,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
and then you go.
right.
The Knicks in the counter is their starting lineup is minus 6.1 in 118 minutes. They're getting outscored by in this series when they play that starting lineup by 6 points. So it's a 36-point differential between the two. But go ahead.
I mean, okay, so yeah, I guess my question. So if you flip that, obviously we're getting obliterated in the non-starting lineup minutes. What do you
Yes.
change about those minutes? Like, what would you shift? I mean, because like it feels like okay, you want to look at who's off the bench, right? Beasley's had a bad series. You can't really stop playing him. He was your second best offensive player in the regular season by a mile. You can't stop playing him. Paul Reed has done what he can, right? I don't know that I would say like it's been an awesome Paul Reed series, but clearly he's fighting, right? Like he's giving you all you can. I can't be mad at Paul Reed's minutes up to this point. Is he gonna get obliterated on the boards by Mitchell Robinson? He is. Like that's just a deficiency in that matchup, but he's also creating a lot of turnovers, right? Dennis Schroeder's been good. Part of the reason, as mad as I had gotten about Ausar not closing, part of that is that Schroeder was so good you didn't feel like you could take him off the floor. So those are the guys off the bench. Ron has played spot minutes as well. I mean, I don't think it's been good, but I don't know that you can point to him and say, like, this is the reason. He hasn't been really even in the game enough to say that. So what do you do? What do you change?
So I have one answer. It's this is how I felt the last 3 games, really the whole series, but it's really popped off the last 3 games. You cannot play Malik Beasley and THJ together. You have to stagger those two guys. That has to be the answer. Those two guys, when they're on the floor together, the Pistons are getting outscored by 23.8 points. It's those two guys. I feel like that.
Or play them with Ausar. Like Asar's got to be on the floor.
But see, that's the either. Okay, so either you don't play those two guys together, or you do play them with Ausar. That is the other counter because then Ausar makes up the difference on defense. But I don't think JB's going to play Ausar 32 plus minutes. I think we're probably capped at 30. I think that's probably the cap you'll see. He played 29 this last game. With how great he played this last game, he didn't even break 30 then. So I don't think JB is breaking at most 32 minutes with Ausar. So if that's what you're going to do, THJ and Malik have to be staggered. They just have to be. They're too bad defensively with him, with Malik, THJ, Schroeder, and Ausar off the floor. You are too bad defensively, and you're coming nowhere close to making up for it offensively because of the lack of creation. So if you have to stagger those, I'd change up my rotation. If the guy that comes out for THJ first is Malik, if that's how you want to change it up, go ahead. But I think it's really I won't say it's all of that. Maybe that doesn't solve all of it, but I feel like my first answer, my first chess move would be, okay, I'm not playing these two guys together anymore. I just can't. I can't play both of them on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, neither of them can guard neither of them can guard Brunson, Mikhail, or OG straight.
They can't guard anyone on the Knicks. There's there's no one.
So that's where you run into your problem. I mean, obviously that's where you run into your problem. Also, they're not. I mean, neither of them have made up for it on the offensive end outside of some stretches here and there. I'm still holding out hope that Beasley's going to get going. Every time he makes a 3, I'm like, that's the one. That's the one that's going to turn it around. And it hasn't been the one. But, hey, there's still time. I don't know. Shooters are so weird, man. Again, I don't think you can stop playing him because I still think he's going to make his next one, right? Like, he's proven enough to me that I think he's going to make his next one. You just hope that he actually does.
No, and that's my next key to winning. 3-point shooters have to show up. They just have to show up. The Pistons are shooting like under 33% from 3 in this series. The 2 games they've won, they've shot under 30% from 3. Like if the Pistons just get normal shooting, if they just had normal shooting from Malik Beasley and THJ, one could argue they already won. Like if you just get normal shooting from these guys, the Pistons are having. I haven't looked historically. But I feel like of series that have gone 6 games, this has to be one of the worst 3-point shooting ones in the modern era. This has to be one of them, bro. They're shooting like 28% from deep. It's awful. It's the fact that they've been able to win 2 games with how poorly they're shooting from 3 is honestly mind blowing to me. It's crazy how they've been able to even extend this series of how poorly they're shooting. So, and like you said, every time Malik shoots, you think it's going in still. So hopefully next game they need him. It doesn't need to be game 6 Clay. It doesn't need to be 8, 9 threes, but can we get a 4 of 9? Can we get a 3 of 7, a 3 of 8?
We're due.
Yeah, like just simply one of those. Can we get a 4 of 8 from THJ in the same game that we get a 4 of 9 from Malik Beasley? Like, can we get something like that? Because if you do, I feel like the Pistons are in really good position. Their 3-point shooting has to improve. They shot 8 of 29 in this last game.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Like,
there is nothing. Yeah. I mean, there's not much more to say. Like with shooting, I mean, shooting is kind of its own thing, and it's a variable, right? It's gonna go up. It's gonna go down. Nick Saban says about momentum, you don't really worry about it because it's always gonna come back around. That's kind of how I feel about 3-point variance. It should come back around. Will it come back around tomorrow or the game after that? I don't know. There's not a ton of time, but at some point it'll come back around. You just got to trust it.
all right. Is there any other keys that you got before we wrap this up?
Not really. I mean, I would say just like a very reductive one is like I feel like we weren't in transition enough last game. Given how well the defense was playing, it doesn't feel like we were playing at our normal pace. But that's okay. I don't know. I'll ask you one quick question before we wrap it up. Do you think the Knicks are tired? Do you feel like we're at the point in the series where us having younger legs is a
I thought I started to see it a little bit last game. Did you feel like you started to see it a little bit?
I thought that I was seeing it in game 4, but I'm pretty sure it was just like Brunson was limping around because he was hurt. So maybe that bogged my mind. But I think you're right. Like I agree. I mean, they're missing free throws. They're making mental mistakes, right? Like it does kind of feel like that's starting to become a factor.
So I sent you this. I had texted Matt this graph talking about the pace this year in the playoffs. It's like the pace has dropped off so much from the regular season, even more so than I think this is the most it's dropped off since 1999. This is
I mean, it's a drastic. Like, I don't think that there's ever been as big a difference as far as pace and like offensive output from the regular season to the postseason as there has been in this playoffs.
Yeah, this is the largest drop off since 1999 in the pace from regular season to playoffs, and I think with that and the refs allowing more physicality in these playoffs, I think this is all lending itself to Detroit, who likes to get physical, who have the younger, fresher legs. It doesn't seem like the Knicks or the Pistons are really being bothered by the physicality. It doesn't feel like they're really being.
No, both teams are bringing it.
Yes, but it feels like both teams are bringing it. I feel like you're seeing the Knicks get bothered by it. I don't feel like the Pistons are being bothered by the physicality. I think the Knicks, and look, I'm not saying no one wants to see anyone get hurt, but I do feel like the longer this series goes on, I feel like the Knicks are going to start feeling that physicality more than the Pistons are. I think you might have already started to see it a little bit, even though I don't know if Madison Square Garden have a broken spot in their floor.
Which is crazy. How does that
Knicks
happen?
fan can't blame us for that one. That's you guys. That's all y'all. that is all you guys.
Got cute. Wanted to wear the City Edition uniforms. Get the City Edition court out there. You should have just wrote it out, man.
But yeah, I think the Knicks are definitely feeling the physicality. They want to get this wrapped up. I don't think they definitely don't want to go to Game 7. They don't want this to happen. So
yeah, what's the LeBron video after they won Game 5 in the 2016 finals? They effed up now.
Come on, man. I've seen so many of the pictures of LeBron when he had the sunglasses on. He's just sitting there like, I've seen like Cade and Ausar on there and stuff. We'll see what happens. But all right, we'll wrap it up there. Matt, appreciate you joining, man. As always, you can find him over on Twitter at Griff1on1. I appreciate you guys making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. Go to the description down below for the Substack and the playback. You already know what it is. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Hopefully next time we're talking is because the Pistons extended this to a Game 7. Until next time, peace out, everybody.